I'm getting the break.
And we are back for this week's edition of Shark Nation. This is number 69. Jason and I here today. Let's talk about how much work it really takes. Jason, how's it going, my man?
Awesome, man. Doing great. Yeah, speaking of work, I think I'm on day 28 or 29 of 75 hard. So, speaking of hard work, yeah, that's a good way to kick this off. Yeah, doing
How's
awesome.
that feeling?
My body's sore. I'm working on the recovery of it, but it's good, dude. I'm down like 10 pounds. I had a doctor's appointment, all my levels and blood work and all that's the best it's ever been. He literally told me don't come back for a year. He's like, yeah, everything is good. He's like, you're doing great. I'm like, I'm not keeping this up for a year. I'm doing this for I got like 40 some days left, and then that's it. I'll keep exercising and trying to eat right, but yeah, it's amazing what happens when you stick to a diet for 30 days. You give up alcohol and you exercise, right? Just like the doctors prescribe. It's good, man. I got a lot of energy. I'll tell you that. I'm fucking fired up.
Yeah, you got more of me. I've been slacking. I need to get
Yeah, I'm
back to
like,
the
dude,
gym.
come on, let's go.
See? See? Smacking me.
Yeah,
So that's a good example because I mean everybody gets, I think, not everybody, but a lot of people get into real estate, and we think, I think enough people have said like, oh, it's not what you think, and that's, but like what do we mean by it's not as easy as it looks? Like, how hard is it? How much does it take? How, what are the numbers? You know what I mean? I think it's like, like, our goal here today is not be vague and you know talk about the suck.
yeah, for sure. So real estate, I always say it's easy. It's simple, just not easy, right? If it was easy, anybody could do it. And I think it's more of a long game than people realize, right? So I think if we want to kind of step by step, and then we could break down some numbers for people. But I just had this, our Monday morning call with the team, and I was talking to Rick and Michelle on the team, and I'm like, dude, you went through your hardest point, which is your first year. The first year that you're in there, it's like the hardest year. You're just trying to learn everything. And it's not like real estate school where it's like, you're just worrying on passing the exam. Now it's like real life stuff, right? How do I become an agent? What do I have to do? How do I learn these contracts? What's the ins and outs of my day to day? That's a grind. If you can make it through the first year, I think that's why the success rate for first year agents is so low, because they don't realize the amount of work and how hard it is to get there. And I told them, man, super proud of both of them. It's basically like their first year is over. Now it's like, dude, they got momentum, and I could see the momentum. And we'll talk about the numbers in a second, but I'm like, dude, their business is about to blow up, and it's super exciting to watch.
Well, yeah, and I mean it's well, and then there's also like, if you look at, let's just take the structure of, getting to deals, right? You have to work up the skill, or not the skill, the will, I'm sorry, the will to make the calls, prospect, do those things. And you have to, once you get on the calls, you have to get them to have conversations. You have to ask good questions. And then once you get the conversations going, you have to get to appointments. And that's a whole nother level, right? It's one thing to have a conversation with somebody, but it's another to then, meet them for coffee or at their home. And then to get them to actually not cancel is a whole nother, thing, set to Matt. And then to actually get contracts signed, buyer and, seller agreements. It's a whole, and what's important is when you're like, look, it might be 1 month for an agent, it might be 6 months for an agent, it might be a year for an agent, but there's probably some blockage in the pipes there that you've got to, free some stuff from. So when you're, when you're doing it, you've just got to like you'll get way more efficient your first second year in. So that's another aspect to the numbers. And of course, there's some natural skill, but and that can be whether it's 1 or 6 months or stuff like that too. But it's that's I think a big reason why that first year can turn into the second. And I know for me, like my first 7, 8, 9 months, like I didn't make any money at all until the last, you know, 4 or 5 months of that first year, but all that work for, when you're in this, like I started in July, right? So when I'm in December and I'm calling for sale by owners and I'm calling internet leads and I'm calling, I'm like, man, like, what am I even doing? I'm just working for nothing, you know?
Yeah.
And all of a
Well,
sudden then March hits and I sell 5 in a week, and not this March, I'm talking 2015, that would have been because I started July of 2014, right? And in that March I sold 5 in a week, and it's like, oh, that's why. Like, and this
yeah.
one was from my thing 2 months ago, and this one was from 6 months ago, and this, and the long game is really the game in this business. So it's hard, but that's the game.
Well, I would say, like you said, kind of talking about first year agents. The first year I had, I got licensed in like May, and then I was doing it part time while I worked my full time W-2 job. So I was about 50% a cap my first year, and then I went over to EXP of February of the following year. So I started in 2019 with EXP, and I was like 89% a cap, still doing it part time, right? But I'm like, okay, my actual second year with EXP, it's like, all right, now I want a cap instead of goal, and then, go for icon. And that year I hit cap and I got icon on my third full year. So when I was talking to the team today, I said the same thing. It's like, dude, you're seeing the end result of, you know, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of calls and 7 years, 8 years experience, not your first year, you know. So there's a learning curve and there's a math problem, right? It takes so much time for you to get your first deal, and you have to learn the business, what to say, how to say it, and all that kind of stuff. And I use the analogy today with the team. It's like it's like going to the gym one day and you think you're going to come out with a six-pack ab and you're going to be ripped, right? Doesn't work like that. You have to consistently put the work in every single day to see results. And it's the same thing with real estate. You know, I told them I wanted to be the best. In order to do that, I had to get on the phone and, you're going to be bad at something before you get good at something, right? So my metric was I want to do at least 50 calls a day every single day, and when it starts, you got to work nights and weekends. You don't get those
100%.
days off. You know?
100%. That's the big one, like you get so many people that come in here into real estate, and the then thing about it is they work 9 to 5 and they think that that's when it ends, and it doesn't. But secondly, like they don't even fully work the 9 to 5, because it's like if you have no business, yeah, you can trend. Say you send 2 hours of trainings. Okay, well, there's 6 other hours in the day. What are you doing
Yeah, for sure.
in the work
Um,
day too? By the way, not the whole day, but
yeah,
uh, but I mean, I always tell the story, and yeah, I mean, you're not supposed to call after 9 p.m. I think, and all that stuff, so not don't do that. But my first year in, I got a lead on New Year's Eve at 12:10 a.m. Swear to
mm.
God, like I'll never forget the time because I can see it. I can see it coming up. Interested in the house, and I called them. I swear to God, I called them. But thankfully, I wasn't, drinking much that year. But called them and ended up selling them a house. I remember we would go out for nights at the we'd go out with friends at 9, 10 o'clock, and lead come in. I would call, like I was like nothing was slipping by me. Like when I chose to get in this business, I knew what I wanted as a result, and I was like, there's no way I'm going to leave it up to chance. I'm going to make sure that it all happens, and that's what's important. But let's come back, I guess, where you said 50 calls a day.
Yeah.
So what does that look like? So if we're doing 50 calls a day, are we going 5 days a week?
Uh, I mean, in the beginning, you should be going every single day. You know, we're trying to build those muscles up, right? You got to get your reps in, right? What to say and how to say it. So, I would say that the sooner, I don't know if you ever heard of like the 10,000 hour rule. As soon as you get your 10,000 reps,
Yeah.
and you're going to be better at it. The sooner you could get those out of the way, the better off you're going to be. So do you want to do that? Do you want to wait? There's agents that had their license for 10 years that are still 1 year agents.
But Jason, where's the good leads? I only want to call the good leads.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, who should I call, right? It's like it doesn't matter who you call, right? We're trying to work and build your skill set up. For one, you want to be comfortable talking to people on the phone. For two, it's like, well, what do I say? Last week, before Preston's call, 2 weeks ago, we talked about kind of the sales format, right? Have a strong opener,
That's good.
then have four good objection handlers for that opener. Then kind of get that guard down and have some three softball questions to kind of just get the dialogue going, right? Then have three or four questions for like to find out their motivation. We call it LP Mama, right? After your motivation questions, right? We're getting towards that 2 minute magic mark, and you could talk about that in a second, but right, we want to have a value proposition. Why should people meet with us? And that's going to tie into the appointment set or appointment met. Do we provide enough value on the phone where people actually want to meet with us, or do they just get you off the
Well,
phone and tell you what you want to hear?
and it's not even just value, right? You got to show care. Like nobody care. Nobody's gonna listen to you till they know that you care. And so
Yeah,
that's the part of asking the good questions and the curiosity questions is like show, like don't come on to a call or a text or a conversation and just, well, when are we going to meet, or when are we going to see houses, or what, blah, 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 me, come on to it, and what's got you looking, like, why over there, what is that, close to work, like, okay, like, well, what are you seeing online, is it too expensive for you, like, just be curious about their scenario, genuinely, because they might not be able to move for a year, for their kids are in school and they can't, and so what, you're gonna come at them with the sales dialogue, or let's meet whenever they can't move for a year, like, did you listen, you know what I mean, like,
yeah.
so you have to show that you care before there is any reciprocation on their side.
Oh, for sure. And like you said, it's all about just coming with a helpful heart, right? They have a situation where they need some help on. They're the hero of their story. We're just the guy to kind of help navigate them through it and get them to the other side, right? So after we have our value prop of why they should meet with us, then we want to set a firm appointment with them. Chad, do you know what the next steps are into buying a home? Probably not.
uh
It's exactly why we should meet, and go over our concept, blah, blah, blah. How's tomorrow at 10 or tomorrow at 3? What works better for you, right?
so let's come back. 50 a day, so if you're doing that 7 days a week, you're saying that's 350 calls a week.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
When you
so let's say
start,
that
you have to,
happens. It's a freaking miracle if an agent does that in their first week. But I'm just, because I'm be honest, like, that's what it should be. But 99.9% of agents don't do that in their
yeah.
first week. They're just like, well, where are the leads that fall into my lap? And guess who else did it? I did it too. I was like, I remember going to my mentor at the brokerage I was at. They assigned you a mentor, and I was like, well, I'll quit my part-time job when this starts working, like it was their fault. It wasn't working or something. Like, I was right there. I get it. I wish somebody had told me some of this stuff when I got in. But anyway, so you make 350 calls in a week. Like, let's say you did the work. All right, cool. How many people would you talk to?
So if we're breaking down numbers, right? Say if you have a 10% answer rate, right? 350, that's 35 people that you're speaking to each week, right? At first, what we want to go from is a call to a conversation. The metric that you should track there is 2 minute conversations with your clients. Why? Because if you got 2 minutes, they didn't just hang up on you, right? You were able to get that sales skepticism, get their guard down, and have a conversation and find out what their motivation is. So that's a good metric to track, right? Did I get to 2 minutes, right? Or if not, journal it. Where did you screw up, right? If you have software programs like we do, like Follow Up Us, re-listen to your game tape, right? How was your opener? Did you pause, right? Did you have a delay in the beginning where they thought you were spamming, just hung up? Okay, I got to work on my opener. They hit me with this objection. I wasn't ready for it, and it kind of fumbled through the whole thing. Okay, next time I'll be prepared for it, right? Okay, out of the three questions that I have that are softball questions, were you looking for a primary residence or an investment property? How
Mm.
many beds and baths were you looking for? Something simple like that, just to kind of get the conversation going, right? Which ones work better than others? Which ones kind of did you fumble through? Okay, well maybe I'll just stick with these two questions for that, right? And kind of journaling what works, what didn't work. And, I always say write it out like a script. So then that way, when you're making your calls, you can kind of follow that process down. And then that way, if somebody does trip you up with a question, you're ready for it.
So 350 calls, 1 out of 10 answers, pretty normal. And you might go call 20 and try to prove me wrong. Yeah, go do it on 1,000. You'll find it's pretty normal. I see the data. We do it. We see other teams do it. We see it. But 350 calls, you've called 50 a day, 7 days a week. 35 of them, answer the phone. You should be able to get, of people that answer the phone, you should be able to get 75, 80% of them to a 2 minute conversation when your skills are there. Now, I notice this all the time that when agents start out, they're more in the 50% range. So if that's the case, you're getting about 17, 18 2 minute conversations out of that 350 dials. That's good because you did what most don't do is you did the dials. But what you want to see that is if you've had 35 answer the phone, you should get about 80% of them to a 2 minute conversation. So that would equal about 28 2 minute plus conversations. So, okay, so we've made 350 calls, 50 a day, 7 days a week. We've had 35 people answer the phone, and we've turned about 20 to 30 of them into 2 minute conversations based on our skill, right?
Well, I'd say at first it's going to be, if you could get 5 to 10 right off the bat out of those 35, you're doing good as you're building your skills up,
Dude,
right?
I never see that low. I'll be honest with you. If we had that many dials, unless you're seeing something different, I've never seen even people who are really unskilled actually get more of a
Well, what,
unless you're
what,
seeing something different. I don't know.
now, what I want to do is try to give people small wins like you talked about, right? See the
Well,
move.
that's different. But
Yeah.
that's different because now we're doing the math and I'm gonna
I'm
challenge
white
you on it.
lying. I'm white lying. All right. Why can't I
Well,
white lie?
that no, but what you're saying is true. If something you come on, you're like, oh my god, 50 a day, 7 days a week. That's just scary. Okay, then look, we don't rise to the expectations we have. We fall to the standards that we have.
Yeah.
So I tell agents like, look, if you have a day where it's just not going to work, have the bare minimum. Like maybe it's 10 dials. Maybe you can shoot those out real quick and go on with your life. Maybe nobody answers. Not that you want that, but maybe that's the case. Then I'd rather see you make 10 than throw up a zero. Have a bare minimum that you won't let the day, a non negotiable standard that you won't let the day go away with. And that's one way that we start to build up consistency. Um, Conversations have a bare minimum of 5 or 10. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's fine. But realistically speaking, I mean, if you made 350 dials, I would be shocked that you had under 10 conversations, even if your skills really, really sucked. Like, because I want agents to watch this to know. I mean, it's
Yeah. No, you're 100% right. And and we talked about it today on our call too, where like you said, if you should have a goal for your call time, right? Even if it's one new client per day, you do it 5 days a week. That's 5 new clients every week. If you do that 4 weeks in a row, you have 20 clients that you're working with for every month. If you do that a couple months consistently in a row, how different will your business be right now to where it is in 3 to 6 months? It's going to blow up.
Well, and here's the reason why conversation time is such a like zoom in, right? Zoom into the conversation, right? You're on there. Hey, I saw you're looking at 123 Main Street. Just curious, if you had any questions on it. Not even the best script, right? But you're just asking. You're just customer service for a second, right? No, I'm just looking. Oh, okay, thanks. Have a good day. And you quit.
Yeah,
And leads suck. Well, yeah, no shit. You just gave up because they go into a store today and look for jeans and have the sales or the person come up to you and say hey, can I help you with anything, and you say just looking. Like you're not, you came in for jeans, like you came in to buy them. You're
yeah,
not just looking, you're looking to buy, like it's real, but you're like, who, just get away from me, leave me, I don't trust
yeah.
you, I don't want to
Your
talk to
eyes are
you.
tracking them in the store, like, oh no, they see me. They see me. I'm gonna hide behind this coat rack.
Yep, everybody wants to buy, but nobody wants to be sold. That is literally an example of it, and we all experience that. We all do that.
Yeah. I use the example when you're younger and you're going to the store for shoes. You know you need school shoes. You are in the shoe store. You know what size you want. You know what kind you want. You know what color you want. You know everything that you want. But as soon as you see somebody, what do you just say? Just looking. And
Yep.
if you have that personality where you're like, well, when you're ready, if you're just looking, think of me and call me when you're ready. It's like if you
Good
expect,
luck.
yeah, good luck for that. If you wait for business to come to you, you're going to be waiting forever. You know,
So
um, you have to go out.
let me come on that for a second, because everybody gets into real estate for freedom, for control and flexibility, and here's the thing that I like to say a lot, and I actually said it in our huddle this morning. We come in for time freedom or financial freedom. Those are generally the two main buckets that I see. Right? You could boil it
Yeah,
down, but here's what I really think it is, because like that level of free where you're going to sit on a beach and just make money doesn't really exist. And let me tell you this, it's not fulfilling either. Time freedom, financial freedom. What are two elements of both of those that you have? Is you have control. You have control over your financial picture. You have control over your schedule, and not some employer that tells you, like that's what I think it's more about. Like we might say it's time freedom and financial freedom and flexibility, but what it is, it's control. And if you want to have control, um, look at things you can control, like your input output, right? You can control if you make the calls, you can control if you ask the hard questions, or if you're just going through the motions. Anybody can just pick up the phone and say, "Oh, are you looking?" "No, I'm not." "Okay, bye." Like that.
yeah.
That's not going to get you
Opportunity
paid.
lost for sure. Now,
And that's not going to get you to why you want to. If you truly believe, because I have a lot of, we talk a lot of, we talk to a lot of agents, and especially new agents coming on. They're like, I want to help people realize their dream of home ownership, and I want to show them that it is possible, or a lot of really good reasons to do this. Of course, because you got to have that. Okay, so you really want to help people, but you're just gonna wimp out whenever you have an opportunity to go further than I'm just looking, right? Well,
yeah,
you're not in line with what you said you want to do. If you really want to help them, you have to actually ask questions to expose the scenario, so you have the opportunity to help them, because nobody's gonna come to you like, nobody's gonna come to you and just be like, Jason, I want to buy a house. I knew you were an agent, and
yeah,
I just like cannot wait to work with you. I know you're the one that can solve my problems.
yeah. Not when you first start.
Yeah.
Like you said, we've been doing it like almost 10 years or more. Now we have people that call us that know what we do because we're out there and we're actively not being a secret agent and getting ourselves and our message out there. But
And
when you
that's
first start,
branding,
yeah,
right?
it is branding. But when you first start, you're somebody's going to trust you with the biggest financial decision of their life, and you don't know what you're doing. You need to get confident and competent ASAP. That's why that first year learning curve is so tough.
But the thing also about the branding mentality, even when you go there, right? You're in the business 10 years, and some people do come to you and say, "Hey, I trust you. I've watched your stuff. I've listened to your little podcast for every week for an hour," and and they come to you. But can you control if they come to you? That's the other thing. We get into this for control, and then we don't realize that we're doing things that we can't control. Like branding is great, but like it takes a long time. When you're getting into business, you've got to hunt. I mean, you've
Yeah,
got to hunt for the people that you want to help.
yeah.
Um,
And I broke down the steps in the chat there. But this is the biggest step. If you don't get this step right, everything else is meaningless because you need to work on your skill set here. You need to build up your competency and your talk track for it, right? Why? Because if you don't get through a call, you're never going to have an appointment. If you don't have an appointment, nobody's going to sign on with you to do it. And yeah, I missed a skip in there. I don't know why it kind of broke out like
what'd you miss?
wacky like that. Buyer agency signed right after consultation, so it should go calls to
Ah,
condos, appointment set to appointment met, do your buyer consultation meeting, buyer agency agreement signed, then it's showings, offers, closings, right?
yep.
You're never going to get to showings or offers um, if you're not good on the phone and you could provide the value and be helpful to somebody. So this is the biggest step, right? And then you want to track each individual step after this because it's like, okay, it's all coaching points. I do this with the team. If you have, like you said, you're telling me, Chad, or I want to grow my business, and I say, okay, let's take a look at your follow up boss. And I take a look, and you say, okay, we bring it up, and last week you had 10 calls for the week. Well, all right, we have to get your activity. You have an activity issue. Let's get that to, you know, 200 calls for the week, and then see where you're at. Okay, I made 200 calls. I only had 2 minute conversations. Okay, what are we saying on the phone? How do we guide you through that and work on your talk track, work on your script, and role play that out a little bit to build that skill up, and then get on the phone next week and do the same thing. How did it go? Okay, I got a couple appointments from it, right? Or but like you said, appointment set tracking to appointment met. Did you provide enough value on the phone where they wanted to meet with you, or they just want to shut you up and get you off the phone, and then they ghost you and you never hear from them, right? So track appointment set to appointment met.
Yes, and well, and here's the thing too. So I had an awesome team member join us, and really plugging in and going at it. But had a little fear around the calls, I think, and they had said, I'm not good talking to strangers, right? And what I want
That is
everybody and any real estate agent listening to this podcast is ask yourself this question when you say one of those things, like, "Well, I'm not good at getting appointments," or "I'm not good at this." Say, "How would I know?" How would I know? Because that's what I asked. And there was 0 calls that were made. I sent some texts and some emails, but no calls were made. So how would I know that you're not good at talking to strangers? I would have no idea. I mean, it's like you're telling me I'm not good at baseball. You've literally never swung a bat. It's the same thing. It's the same exact thing. So, and that comes into a whole limiting belief conversation. But I mean, and it's hard. It's just hard. It's hard to do this stuff. But it's a real estate salesperson. That's what
yeah.
you are. This is the
And
job.
I literally had a call with a brand new agent yesterday, and we are on the phone for an hour. And I told him, look, I started as an IT introvert. I was a help desk guy. I fixed people's computers and all that kind of stuff. And then I realized with the career trajectory that I had, like the people that were getting paid were in sales positions. My sales skill, I told my boss when I first got started, I'm not selling anything. If you tell me I have to sell anything, I don't want this job. It's like, no, you don't have to sell anything. Just fix everything. I'm like, perfect. Right. But all these skills can be learned and built up. I got in the weeds every single day learning sales skills, negotiation techniques, all that kind of stuff. And it's a learned skill, public speaking, right? I had to train in front of like groups of 50 to 100 people how to, set up brand new equipment, how to train them on how to use it, set up other software, right? Totally out of my comfort zone. But you could become the person that you want to and learn each skill along the way.
100%. 100%. So let's come back to the math now and bring it back. 350 calls. You can have 35 people answer. You're going to have about 17 to 28 2-minute plus conversations roughly. What is the next metric? Well, it's appointment set. How many appointments should we set?
So if we're going from 20, I'd say 5 appointments set every week.
No way.
What do you think?
Dude, it's 2. 1 out of every 10 conversations.
Oh, well, we're going up these. Yeah, 25, 3. That's kind of where I do. 22-minute
What?
conversations, 5 appointments set. Out of 5 appointments set, 3 met. Should kind of be
Oh, I see. Well, okay. On my data, it's a little lower, but that's fair. I mean, that's fair. Take either
just
example, I think.
ballpark, like you said. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you want to aim for 2 appointments met per week is really what you want to go for to hit a lot of people's income goals. A lot of people want to hit 6-figure mark. Well, try to go on 2 appointments per week. I mean that can simplify all this. If you don't want to sit there and do a science project, just go find 2 appointments with people who want to buy or sell real estate per week, regardless of the rest of the things we just said. And if you do that for 48 out of 52 weeks in the year, you're going to be in a lot better spot than most agents. But okay, so 3 appointments roughly, 2 3 appointments. Um,
Yeah,
well,
but
you're saying five
here's
set, three
yeah, 5
met.
set, 3 met.
Okay,
So when you meet with somebody, right, you provided enough value where we're wanting to meet with you, right?
what's a
Hey,
meeting?
Chad, so we do our buyer consultation. Hey, Chad, anybody ever sit down with you to explore all your options, explain the whole process of buying a house? We could tell you about all our guarantees that we have that no other team or brokerage has in the area. I could also set up a customized home search for you, and I could explain all the buyer agency contracts so and you're 100% comfortable what you're signing before we go see properties, right? So kind of like a little value prop in there, but during that buyer consultation, we walk them through it. Here's the whole process of buying a house. Here's the different guarantees that we have that nobody else does. Let's go through your dream home wish list and find out your top 5 must-haves in buying a house. Because if we're a couple,
That's a
um,
big one.
yeah, if we're a couple, go through it. What's important to the husband might be not as important to the wife. right? So they do it separate. They each fill out all their information, what they want, where, location, school district, all that kind of stuff, size, garage, all that kind of stuff, backyard, whatever it is, right? And then we put it together, and then we could create a customized home search for them with what they're looking for. And then we explain all, with all the NAR stuff that came out in August, legally to show you a house, I have to have some kind of buyer agency representation agreement with it. Let me explain the different types. There's three different types that we could do. And then whichever one you're comfortable with, we could start there. Chad, we have a single house property. I could just show you one house. If that's the one you like, I could help represent you.
I
Or we
have to I
like,
have to interject. I have to because Nick blew my mind on this. Nick McLean. We changed our we did a lot of what you were doing. But we totally ripped it up and changed it after talking with him. So we have a satisfaction guarantee like you do. If you don't like us in 24 hours, you can with 24 hours notice you can cancel our contracts. We don't believe contracts should hold people in the deal. We believe our services should. It's one of our
for
things.
sure.
Here's where I was blown away. Um, here's the buyer agency contract. Um, our services are good for 6 months. But at any moment, if you're not happy with me, there's a 24-hour opt-out period. That
Yeah.
just like our services are good for 6 months versus, hey, you've got to sign with me to show a house. That flip has made and it's it. I mean, it's it. It's that simple. But that simple tweak was just such a great way because I feel like you can get into a word salad sometimes whenever you start going and all that and like they don't see the basically it's benefit too. Like, what's the benefit of signing with an agent? Well, there you're putting it in a position. It's like I will work for you for 6 months. This is an agreement for me to work for you for 6 months. Our services are good for you for 6 months. And
Yeah.
if you don't like me, if you got 24 hours, you can cancel at any time.
Yeah, we have a risk-free guarantee where, or and a hassle-free guarantee where if you're not happy for whatever reason, we believe in commitments, not long-term contracts too. So if you don't want to work with us for whatever reason, you could cancel your contract anytime.
But that
I do.
changed, man. That
Yeah,
was the
I like it.
he
Yeah, that's
and I
awesome.
was so pissed because I just did a training with the team and I was going through like I literally was doing it so we could use the recording later and I like step by step went through how to do all that and I didn't pitch it that way like in the training I was just like oh there's a single property agreement and there's a buyer and then Nick came on and for reside and did one of those in the training and he said he says it that way and I'm like dude that is so much better. It just makes more sense. And it's not about trying to get somebody again, we have a 24-hour opt-out clause. Like it's not like we're like locking people in the shit. It's just like it just it makes more sense. It makes more sense for us, to pitch it that way. It's been way better.
Yeah,
It's like a listing, really. I
sure.
mean, when you list a house, you're like, hey, this listing is for 6 months or a year, and if you don't like me, fire me. Here's the opt-out portion.
Yeah, yeah, that's great too. We do that for our white glove, but for today, we're just kind of going through buyers. I love that too. Like I'm committed to work for you for 6 months. I kind of phrase it as, "Hey, look, let me prove to you how great I am compared to other agents."
Yeah.
So I can just show you this property if you like what I'm doing, and you want to kind of continue the relationship. Then we have a non-exclusive. Think of it as dating. Any house that I could show you, I could represent you for any house that I show you, but you could also see other agents. Or, if you're comfortable with what I'm showing you today as far as our buyer consultation and everything else, and you want me to be your exclusive agent, I have that option too. Totally up to you, but we have to go through one of these three before I could show you a house.
So love it. 350 calls, 20-ish, give or take, conversations, going to 2 or 3 appointments. How many will you work with?
So, say out of five, we get three that we're going to be actively working with. Um, Break it down. Some people might not be ready. Some people might be more towards that buying and selling stage. Or say if you get one out of that, one out of the 20 that you had the 2-minute conversation with, uh, one signed.
That's 1 per week. That's 4 in a month.
Yeah. So if you have 4 deals per month, what's that look like for your business? Right. Plus, don't forget the other two out of the three are not going away, and the other two out of the five are not going away. They're going to be in your pipeline, and you're going to be when they're ready. Then we're going to be ready to work with them, right? But we're getting people that are ready to buy and sell right now. But and we're also moving that needle or moving the ball down the court with every other client that we're working with. So it's going to snowball.
And I want to, I'll
Real
shorten
quick,
this. I won't go super long with this, but I want to expose this to people listening. If we're going to talk about the numbers and the math and all that stuff, another big strategy that people use is open houses when they get into real estate, right?
yeah,
What?
yeah. No, I love it. Yeah, no, for sure.
So, but let's think about it. And I do this with a lot of agents. We'll talk on calls and they won't have a method for generating leads, but they understand they could generate leads at open houses. So, okay. So you're going to get into real estate and you're going to do open houses. Is it fair to say, and Jason, I'll ask you, is it fair to say that on average 5 people come into an open house? Some you'll have 0 or 1, some you'll have 20.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. 5 people come in. Now, if 20 came into an open house, would it be fair to say that you could have a follow-up coffee or meeting with 1 out of 20?
Yeah, that sounds fair.
Cool. Now you're meeting with 1 out of 20. Um, how many will you have to meet with to get an actual client that will actually transact or refer you to somebody who will transact?
1 out of 20.
To the appointment. You got a follow-up appointment. How many of those appointments will actually work with you? Every single one, 100%, or
No, no, I'd say 50-50 shot.
okay, cool, perfect. These are pretty much what I typically get. All right, so we're saying 5 people on average come into an open house. We're saying 1 out of 20 you can get to an appointment. If 20 came in at once, you could get one to an appointment. We're saying you need 2 appointments to get somebody to work with you. You're going to convert at a 50% rate. Okay, so what I'm seeing is if you need, let's see, 2 appointments to get a sale, let's say we did 4 open houses a week. Oh, I can't do that. Wednesday 6 to 8, Saturday 12 to 2, Sunday 11 to 1, and 1 to 3. You can. So, I get this shit
That's
all the
great.
time. So then, okay, we've had 5 people on average come in per. We've had 20 people come in a week. We've set an appointment with one, but we need two. We need 2 appointments to get a sale. So we need another week to go by to get one sale. 4 weeks in a month, we're going to have 2 sales a month. You're going to sell 24 houses if you hold 4 open houses a week based on that math. And that math might be different for you. Go get the data. But I mean, it
Yeah.
makes sense. An agent's, I don't know how
Well,
to sell.
you're just doing another strategy. Like if you don't want to be on the phones, then you would need to do something to lead generate, which would be an open house strategy. But the numbers are the same. It's just a different methodology of,
100%.
working with buyers or sellers. And I think what's important for people to realize is, when you contact somebody, that might have filled out a registration online looking for houses or whatever, and they give you their contact info, and we reach out, there's different phases that they might be in. One might be the dreaming phase, one might be the exploratory phase, and then they might actually be in that buying and selling phase. And we have to be there along the ride with them, the entire process. So when they are ready, going from dreaming to exploratory to buying and selling. And I used this analogy the other day. Think of it as, you need a new car at first, right? It's starting to clunk and break down a little bit, and you're having issues with it. You're fixing it, but you have a problem. That's the dreaming phase, right? The exploratory phase is now they're going online and starting looking for replacement cars, right? Okay, what do I want? I want a new Honda Civic, and I want to be in this price range, and I want this feature, this feature, this feature, right? Exploring. By the time they get to the car lot, we don't want to capture them there. That's when they're actually in the buying phase, right? It's too late, right? We need to capture them when we know that they have an issue and they're exploring their options for what's out there. If you get them in the buying and selling phase, it might be too late. And kind of like what you touched on previously was some agents that started around that 2021, 2022 were shaking the money tree. Any call that came in, they wanted to buy right then and there, and they never really had to do any of this prospecting stuff that we're talking about. Those are the agents that are really struggling now because, the money tree days are over. Coming in, going to see one house, there's 15 offers on it, all that kind of stuff, over asking, and it was easy. Now it's much more difficult, and there's much more work, kind of like the title of the episode, much more work involved to make it happen.
100%. And I think, unless you've built up some wicked brand, you have an amazing sphere of influence, and then those do happen. There's exceptions to the rule, but it's very, very, I wouldn't bet. Like, it's the thing, like, you're getting into real estate, you're betting a lot on this career working for you. You're at the casino and you're putting money on red, and red
Yeah.
is real estate, is your career in real estate. Do you want to like, tilt the, like, make the red sections bigger than the black roulette, cool. Then do these things, right? Like it's something you can control. Because like if you're 100% of your like appointment conversions or your phone calls or whatever, you're just not doing enough business probably because anybody doing a wicked amount of business is not 100%. Like, it's like, I mean, Wayne Gretzky or Mario Lemieux or any of the thing, like they're not 100%. Look at all the shots that they do, miss that they take, right? Like, and we know that, um, but we start building these fantasies that just don't exist. So, and that's the purpose of today's episode. The purpose of
Yeah,
today's episode is to expose you that work works. You've got to take a lot of shots. There's always a math equation, though. There's always X out of X. And you can improve on that based on skills, but without the action in place, you're never going to find the sales.
yeah. And just like a baseball analogy, people in the Hall of Fame hit 3 out of every 10 attempts. If you hit 3 out of every attempts with your sales calls, you will be a Hall of Fame agent. There's no doubt about it. It's just a matter of getting your at bats in and putting in the work.
Yeah.
So, what you want to tie it in with the last three little things, showings, offers, or we want to save it for another time? Every time we think that we're going to go like a quick thing, we
We must be passionate about this shit,
I
man. I
know,
don't know.
I know, I love it.
Go for it. Yeah, yeah. Give me the quick version.
All right, so we do our buyer consultation, then we sign a buyer agency to represent the client to go help them buy a house. Right now, you're not unemployed. Great job, right? You have somebody that's willing to hire you to find them property, right? And then it goes out to showing homes, right? Showing homes, you're not Vanna White, like, oh, this is the kitchen, this is the bathroom. It's like, no fucking shit, right? Anybody could do that. The problem that people do is they go from call to showings and they lose all that value in between and they become a commodity. Because if they just want to see a house, you show them that house sucks, you provide it no value, and then they're just going to call the next agent and the next agent, and you lost your opportunity to show value. So number one, don't be a commodity. But number two, when you're showing houses, if you don't have clients to work with when you're just starting, go out with inspectors, go out with appraisers, whoever you can, contractors, electricians, plumbers, and learn the ins and outs of how a house works, right? What kind of heating is this? What kind of plumbing is this? What kind of electric is this? So when you go to a house, you could point out some things that might be red flags. Hey, this is old knob and tube wiring. This electric panel is an old Federal Pacific, which might be a fire hazard. Look at the water standing here. It looks like this is effervescence in the basement. See these foundational cracks. This means this. If they're going this way, it means this. Stuff that you could point out. My job's to, help you find the house that you want. You see if it's functional for you and your family. But
How does it rank at a price per square foot basis relative to the recent solds?
yeah, for sure. Come in with the game plans for things to talk about. Take a look at the seller disclosure so you could see, hey, look at they just put on a new roof in 2021. Hey, they did a renovation on the kitchen in 2020. Hey, this bathroom was remodeled in 2017. So you have things to talk about instead of being like, oh, here's the kitchen. It's like you're wasting your time. But after each showing, right, come in with value. If you don't know what you're talking about, go on inspections. Inspectors love real estate agents, right? So they're more willing to take you out with them and show you what's going on when they inspect houses, so you'll be more knowledgeable. Um, After each one of your showings, you should ask them to rank that house on a scale of 1 to 7. What do you think house? 1 to 4, dud. 4 to 7 in offer territory. You know, and Matt, my coach, told me a great analogy. If they don't like the house, rip it up right in front of them, the printout sheet. Another thing when you're showing houses, come prepared. We have kind of like an intake form. So then that way, if you're showing multiple properties, they can write notes about each one, print out the MLS sheets, have your card in there, nice professional folder, all that kind of stuff when you're going out there. But then, like I said, if it's not the one, rip it up and then rate it. Well, what do you think would make it a 5 or a 6 or a 7? And then adjust your search criteria because you'll believe what people say, not what they do. Right? They're telling you, hey, I want this and I want this, and it wasn't in their dream home wish list, right? Then we can start catering their search towards what they're saying that they want or showing us what they want.
Love it. Love it. I love it. I love it. Well, I mean, look, you don't know what to say? Go back 2 episodes ago. Watch it. What was that, number 67?
Yeah.
You want the math? Tune into this episode. It's all there. You don't need, everybody thinks they need more information. You don't You know what to do. You know how to do it. You have the technology at your brokerage or, whatever. I mean, it's cheap. Like you can get follow up boss for $70 a month and add the dialer for 3,900 bucks a month. There's other CRMs out there too. I mean, that's not that hard. Um, you got to go do it.
Yeah.
These episodes give you the action steps.
Yeah. And like I said, after you start showing houses, it's just a matter of when, not if. Right? Eventually, you're going to find the house that's perfect for them. We always tell our clients, we'll show you 100 houses. When you find the one, then we start doing our job. Let me get you the best deal on this place.
Yeah, that's the truth too. So cool, cool.
Well, we'll structure offers and closing for another podcast because I could spend an hour on, top 10 ways to structure your offer for success that our good buddy, Mr. Danny, taught us about in one of the Mavericks. And then, just closing checklist. What do you need to do to close properties, right? So, in the life cycle.
That's it. We'll dive in. We'll do it. All right. Tune into the next one and we'll unpack it. Thanks, Jason, for jumping on today. And we'll see you all next week.